spins a web any size. Catch a sneeze, just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Hello and welcome to episode 33 of Amazing Spider-Man Classics in association with SpidermanCrawlspace.com. My name is John Wilson, and this episode we are going to be finishing up our conversation from last episode and covering issue 47 of Amazing Spider-Man. If you hear any strange references to last episode in this one, it's because they were recorded on the same night. And so we kind of thought it was all going to be one show. It just went too long, so it's cut up into two. This episode of Amazing Spider-Man Classics is brought to you, as always, by Roll2Play, your online source for games and gaming accessories. Now, I have to tell you about a particular game that I bought from Roll2Play recently. It is called Munchkin. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you've heard me rave about this game quite a bit. This is a card game that has the trappings of a role-playing game, but it's a lot more silly, easy to learn, and good for all ages, from, say, 9 or 10 up. It's designed by Steve Jackson, and it's good for anywhere from 3 to 6 players. And I have to tell you, if you're the kind of family that likes to sit down to a fun game, this is something you really ought to take a look at. There are several different flavors of the game. There's the core Munchkin game. There's a Star Munchkin, which is a science fiction based. There's Super Munchkin, which is superhero based. If you wonder how this could possibly be and still be a role-playing game, you have to kind of take a look at the game to understand. It is available at Roll2Play.com, as well as all the different expansions and different flavors that are available out there. That is Roll2Play, all one word, spelled with the number 2, which you can also search on Facebook if you want to follow them there. This episode, of course, I am joined by Josh Bertoni and Don Grant, and we are rejoined again by Tyler Crone. He is one of the guys I podcast with over at Teenage Wasteland and Ultimate Spider-Man podcast. He also is one of the 2 guys running From Yellow to Red, a Daredevil podcast, and also one of the company over at of Mercs and Mutants, which is a podcast looking at Deadpool. And we brought him on these 2 episodes because this issue has had a Deadpool retcon about 10 years or 15 years ago. And so we're going to be talking about that in the course of the episode. You may well be aware that the Classics gang went to San Diego Comic-Con. I said last time that we're going to be talking about that some on episode 34 of this show. However, we've already had a couple of occasions to sort of decompress a lot of that Comic-Con information and, sort of reliving those times. So I don't know that we're going to spend a lot of time on this show talking about it. We had the Captain America movie review over on the Facebook page and linked on the Libsyn site. We have talked about Comic-Con over at the Spider-Man Crawlspace podcast. So go to SpidermanCrawlspace.com. You can look for episodes there. Also over at Batgirl to Oracle, a Barbara Gordon podcast. We teamed up with Stella, who was, of course, in San Diego with us, and had some, memories and some laughs going through that episode. So I don't know we're going to talk about a whole lot on this show. And also, episode 34 now has something special planned, so be here next time for that. I can't tell you, that would be spoilers. And I could keep on blabbing here, but I think the best thing to do would be to go ahead and get back to the conversation where we're looking at Amazing Spider-Man 47.
Now we move into 1967, the year that would give us The Prisoner on television, as well as the animated series of Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four. Fantastic. Which is only fair, because the Jocks got their first Super Bowl this year, so...
What was the most important thing that come out in 1967?
Tampons.
Yes, absolutely, but no. Something else.
You're kidding me, John.
Says the guy who's not a chick, who doesn't need...
I don't know.
With Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
My very, very biased opinion, the most, important, cultural, piece of music of that decade, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Nice.
In fact,
is that the one with that Eleanor Rigby on there?
No, Eleanor Rigby was the album prior.
And to kick it off, Amazing Spider-Man 47 was released on or around January 10th, 1967, about the same time that Spock was wrestling with the responsibilities of command when he gets stranded on a planet with the crew of the shuttlecraft Galileo. But before we get to the Spider-Man book, our webhead had a cameo in another book that was released at the same time. Over in Fantastic Four 61, the Sandman appears in a new costume, taking on the Fantastic Four and giving them a run for their money all by himself. But meanwhile, Peter Parker is getting photos of the Metro ESU game. These two fictitious colleges, neither one of them exists.
Metro College is actually real.
No, it's not.
I know.
You dig?
And neither is Metro College Stadium, where Peter has taken Mary Jane along as a date. Needless to say, he is flabbergasted when a girl and a giant dog appear out of nowhere in the middle of the football field. These are, of course, Crystal of the Inhumans and her faithful Lockjaw, freshly free from behind the Great Barrier and on search for Johnny Storm. Peter is in literally 2 panels, but it's kind of nice to see him interacting with the Marvel Universe. Does anyone have any thoughts on this scene? Josh, I know you're the Fantastic Four buff.
Yeah, no, I remember this because it was like delaying and padding out Crystal and Johnny reuniting as much as possible. And like, I don't even think they reunited this issue.
No.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Like, there's still another issue or two. I remember reading this in the Essentials and like seeing Peter and Mary Jane and being like, oh, cool. And like, I didn't quite place where this was in Spider-Man continuity. Like, you know, that he was with Mary Jane and not Gwen at this point. So, but I liked it. I like seeing them. And, you know, they were drawn so that they did look like Peter and Mary Jane, even though it was Jack Kirby. So, cool
Right.
on that. Which, in fact, I guess that would make Jack Kirby the person to draw Mary Jane, aside from, if you don't count the Steve Ditko, you know, stuff.
Oh, yeah, because we didn't get her face. Yeah, that'd be, Jack Kirby's the first one to draw her face. And she looks, you're right, they look pretty much, you know, on point. Maybe Kirby's and Romita's styles are more friendly to each other than Kirby's and Ditko's are.
Well, Romita was I believe he was inking Kirby on Daredevil, and then he replaced him on Fantastic Four, I think. So I think Romita can be similar when he wants to be with Kirby.
I was
that
really
makes
sad when
sense
John
because
Romita left Daredevil. Like, not like, you know, sad in the 60s when it happened, but like sad when I was reading my Essentials and I saw that John Romita was gone. And like, I remember at least from what I remember, I could be wrong, like they kind of fooled you into thinking that he was coming back. Like, oh, Johnny Romita's just taking a break this arc so he can work on Spider-Man, you know?
Oh, that's cruel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and then Gene Colan takes on after him, and of course he is the Daredevil artist for years and years. So yeah, just a little bitty Peter Parker panel, and I guess that being said and done, we move on to Amazing Spider-Man 47. Josh Bertoni, take it away.
Okay, Amazing Spider-Man 47. And as the splash says, would ya believe, with would ya spelled, you know, would apostrophe J-A, so would ya believe? Kraven the Hunter? Well, we kind of have to believe it because Kraven is on the cover. Larger than life and larger than Spider-Man, but not just larger than Spider-Man, larger than 5 Spider-Man? Probably the same ones that Stephen Lacey was saying that time when he stayed up for like 3 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, but it wasn't so nice of us. So we go to our splash page, which is, like Mary Jane, a big old pile of retcon bait. Yeah, Kraven is being punched by Spider-Man as they're falling off a roof together, and the Green Goblin is about 5 feet away from them, maybe 10 feet, but nobody sees him in the original issues. So remember how Kraven was fighting Spider-Man for the thrill of the hunt and for honor? Yeah, that was all a pack of... Oh, I should read the credits, though. In the hands of the Hunter. A swinging super special Spidey saga by Stan Lee and John Romita, abetted and lettered by Sam Rosen. And it's interesting here because they don't say like Stan Lee script or John Romita art. It just has both of their names together.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
I think we see that more than once.
We will, as time goes by. So yeah, remember how Kraven was fighting Spider-Man for honor, the thrill of the hunt, you know, to prove that he's a man? No, it wasn't about that. It was all about making some scratch. It was all about the dough. That's right, folks. Stan Lee used retcons too. This isn't a new thing. The Green Goblin had promised $20,000 to Kraven the Hunter if he killed Spider-Man, according to this flashback. Kraven fails in the flashback, because, hey, we covered those issues with Brad Douglas, and Kraven failed twice. So, Kraven's hired to do something. Kraven doesn't do it, and then Kraven demands his money. He gets mad when the Green Goblin's shadowy emissary refuses to give him the money, because, he didn't do the job. Kraven says that he'll kill the Green Goblin for not giving him the money. So Kraven tails the emissary and learns that it's Norman Osborn, who up until this point was seen in the shadows, which I kind of liked, because it's kind of like, in those old Green Goblin Ditko stories where you don't see his face.
It's the same magical shadow hat.
Right.
Yeah. For all your crime noir needs. So he learns that it's Norman Osborn, who, unbeknownst to him, but to borrow a line from Spaceball, beknownst to us, is the Green Goblin. Kraven gets captured, though, as we saw in issue 34, and we cut to months later when he's released from jail and seeks revenge on the Goblin and Spidey. He reads in the paper that the Green Goblin died in a fire, so Kraven decides that with the Goblin dead, he'll collect his payment from Norman Osborn. Yeah. Mad at the wrong person, but okay, sure.
Right.
We cut to Stan Lee proving that he has no idea how to write for young people or old people, with Aunt May and Aunt Anna talking about, being like roommates. It's so wonderful moving in with you, Anna, especially now that I know Peter is settled in his own apartment with that nice Harry Osborn boy, who, according to Spider-Man Blue, she never liked. There'll be so much for us to do, May dear. Oh, wait, that's two Betty Brands. I had an Aunt Anna voice once. There'll be so much for us to do, May dear. It was so lovely for me since Mary Jane moved away after living with you for 4 days.
Yeah, more of that.
But again, that's a retcon.
Yeah, retcon. Retcons are fun. Then Mary Jane. Hi, pretty people. I thought you might need a hand with your unpacking. If so, have no fear. MJ is here. Yes, folks, more classic MJ dialogue. Mary Jane, how sweet of you to drop by to help. If only my Peter would be so happy-go-lucky. Don't worry about Petey, Mrs. Parker. He's a real swinger, a regular full-time pussycat. And then next page, Mary Jane's inside the living room doing some dance. And the old ladies are like, okay, weren't you going to help us? So Aunt May decides to go phone Peter, and she says, tell him not, and Mary Jane says, tell him not to forget we're making the scene tonight. Oh, how nice. It's so rare to find a young lady who's interested in handcrafts. Oh, May and Stanley and Mary Jane. All three of you are ridiculous. Over at the Parker Osborn apartment, Peter and Harry are doing roommate stuff, which isn't as weird as the Aunt May and Aunt Anna roommate stuff. When Norman Osborn visits and he and Peter meet for the first time ever. Peter's relieved because Norman doesn't seem to remember that he's the Green Goblin, and the two of them talk about the job offer that Harry relayed to him, and Norman reminds him that it's still open. Everyone's really, really chummy, and Peter doesn't mention that in that -1 issue during the late 90s, they met as a child, and Peter told Norman that he was his inspiration for science.
Oh, boy.
But that's because that hasn't been written, and I really can't blame Stan for that. Meanwhile, Kraven is yelling at Osborn's secretary about his whereabouts, but all she can say is that he'll be out of town. This displeases Kraven, who reveals to the readers his new power. Laser nipples.
Laser nipples! Yay!
Which fits in with his jungle motif so well. I've had months to develop this new weapon, a double-barrelized ray which can magnetize his muscular electrolytes. A Cobra quick attack like this, and his accursed spider seed will be gone. What the heck?
That's the thing with Kraven that I don't understand. Is that he always wants to be this noble man of honor, but he always cheats. I guess it's just because he's a villain.
He has lays, everything about him's like the jungle, the hunter, the speed of a lion, and the cunning of a cheetah, and the agility of a monkey. Oh, and laser nipples.
Because he demanded it.
Amazing.
This is the most awesome power of any supervillain ever.
Yeah, I wonder why Kraven doesn't have that many fans as a villain.
We now cut to what will probably be, in this podcast, the most controversial scene of the show.
No!
Ever.
Yeah, ever. As a crowd of boys, in ESU are like crowding around Gwen. Don't worry, Gwen. If you'll toss in the party, we'll be there. That's fine, boys. After all, we're doing it for Flash. We want him to get a great send-off into the army. Who's gonna take his place with you, doll? And then Gwen says, looks like I'm up for grabs, lads.
With a big old smile on her face, as though she were never serious.
Yeah, with a big old smile. She's smiling as men are flirting with her. Okay.
The only person not smiling in this entire scene is Peter.
Believe me, we are going to
Well,
get
Peter never smiles. Well, that's not true. He smiles later.
He smiles earlier, too. He smiles
Yeah.
when he walks in the room before he sees her.
Yeah. Random ESU Guy 3 says that'll be the day when Harry comes in. Who are you kidding, Gwen? You never dug Flash in the first place. Why don't you admit that I'm the secret love of your life? Because it wouldn't be a secret any longer if I did, Harry. Then Peter chimes in, touche, Miss Stacy. Has anyone ever told you that you get prettier every day? Only my mirror, Mr. Parker. Whoops, sorry. I've been listening to Mary Jane too long.
Zing!
Bazing!
Oh, so here she's joking, realizes that she's joking, and says, whoops, been listening to Mary Jane too long, which would imply that prior to that point in the conversation, she was playing it straight.
So if she was playing it straight, that means she was with Harry and not Flash.
I
Because
didn't
it
say
wouldn't
she
be-
was going steady with either of them.
I still got my knife out. We're still doing this.
But Mary Jane was riding around with Harry and riding around with Peter. What's the difference? Oh, speaking of Mary Jane, I love how that works for both, what Gwen said and I said. If you'd like to bring her to the party, you may. And thanks for permission, Gwen. Things should really be swinging by 8, especially with her there. Thanks, Gwen. I'm sure MJ would get a big kick out of it. Internal monologue. Gwen didn't even give me a chance to ask if she'd. What's the use to her? I'm just another guy named Pete. And then Gwen, and again, I think that she's doing this, like in last issue, because Peter's standing right there, so twisting the knife a little bit. Will you be bringing a date, Harry? With you there, doll.
I'm sorry. You're still doing that voice.
Yeah. Oh, what's wrong, Donovan? You can't take me seriously with my door.
No, yeah.
That would be like bringing a Chevy to General Murmurs. Well, gentlemen, it's been a real ball. The time has come to fill my little blonde head with learning. You're right, we better move. I'm due at the lab. Say, Gwen, how about a soda after class while we compare some notes on English Lit? I'm afraid I've gotten a little rusty. Oh, brother. He walks with top honors in every class and he's rusty, so what does that make a guy like me? Come to think of it, don't answer that.
Which is pretty funny.
Yeah, no one's talking to you, Harry. He does,
You should
he
stop
does this all
talking.
issue. He does this at least twice, in before and after, which I'll point out.
Gwen obviously rebuffs Peter, and then makes a, snarky comment. I'm sure Mary Jane can help you brush up on your notes. So, leaving Peter to once again think, oh, when I wanted Gwen, when Gwen wanted me, I was busy. Now I want her, and she doesn't want me. Irony, irony, love triangle, love triangle.
But then...
Yeah, Peter swings off to the Daily Bugle to get some shocker photos where he runs into Betty, Brandt, and Ned Leeds, who are getting yelled at by Jameson about, coffee breaks again. Is it a coffee break?
They leave their shift
yeah.
ends at noon.
They're just going on their lunch break or something. We don't know what it is. We talked about last episode how for 2 issues straight, all Betty can talk about is we got to invite Peter to this wedding, and we juxtapose that maybe their wedding was delayed for so long because they had no friends. So I imagine that before Peter came in, Betty and Ned were saying around, we have to find some way to be more social. We have to find some way to make more friends. And in comes Peter Parker with the answer to their prayers. Say there, group. Hold it up a second, huh? It's Peter Parker. You've been keeping yourself busy these days, fella. Have you forgotten, Ned? Peter is attending ESU. How have you been, Peter? How are classes? Everything copacetic, Betty. Do you remember Flash Thompson? Of course I do.
Oh yeah, give me some of that love.
Oh God!
And then I dropped the comic from my
Oh my god, this is horrible.
Yeah. Betty's enthusiastic reaction with an exclamation point, of course I do, which obviously means nothing at the time, but given her future relationship with Flash, yeah. Very enthusiastic, of course I do. Which actually, this is really, really stupid and OCD of me, but because of a crawl space like Flash and Betty like project, and me looking up all the issues, this is the first time in continuity that Betty Brand has acknowledged that Flash Thompson is someone that exists.
Mhm.
Yeah, he says, "Do you remember Flash Thompson?" But there's, well, I guess he probably would have told her about him whenever they were dating.
Well, like, they were in scenes together, but, like, whenever it was the four of them together, Peter, Flash, Betty, and Liz were too focused on each other to really, like, have Betty interact with Flash Thompson.
Right.
I mean, she must have been aware of him.
Whose name is in the writer's slot of this book again?
Stanley. Well,
Okay.
they're
Are you really surprised that there's an exclamation point at the end of something? In case you haven't noticed, except for ellipses, there are no periods.
Good point.
And then and he still says, "Hey, look, it's Peter Parker, not Peter, not Parker. Hey, look, it's Peter Parker."
Ned leads, oblivious to his fiancée drooling in the corner, imagining Flash Thompson. He's the issue star quarterback. Because, yes, that's why Betty remembers him. Not anymore. He's going in the army, and we're throwing a party for him tonight. Say no more. We wouldn't miss it for the world. And then Betty and Ned go in the elevator, like, shaking their fist in joy. Hooray. We'll finally have people to invite to our wedding.
Yeah, that's why she's happy.
I can't wait to give Flash a kiss goodbye before he goes to the army. No, that doesn't happen. At least on panel, but I can pretend. And I will. Then Peter goes to Jonah's, where he sells the shocker picks during some where we get some more witty Jonah-Peter banter. And then John Jameson reminds us via a phone cameo that he exists and says hi to Peter, who he has no way of knowing at this point. But it's all cool. Kraven breaks into the Osborn mansion. I want Osborn. Where is he? Kraven the Hunter. The master is not here, sir. He's on a business trip out of town. Don't try to lie to me. I can stop a charging bull elephant in his tracks with his own strength. I can defeat a full-grown lion in barehanded combat. Yeah, because you have laser nipples. Nobody lies to It is the truth, sir. He is not here. See for yourself. I don't have to see. My own animal senses tell me that you're too frightened to lie. Those are senses. Those are senses. You can tell that he's too frightened to lie because of your animal. No.
It could be like Daredevil's radar sense telling him when people are lying.
Or his mustache sense or something. His laser nipple sense.
So, not that this is actually what happens in the issue, but pretend for a moment that Kraven, flew to Delaware or wherever it was that Norman was on business and murdered Norman Osborn and then framed Spider-Man. Harry would go on for years thinking that Spider-Man killed his father. The butler would say nothing, and then finally, right before the final showdown, this butler would say, "Oh, by the way, on the night before your father died, some jungle madman broke into the house saying, 'Where's Norman Osborn? I'll kill him. I'll kill him.' And I told him that your dad was out of town. The next day, your dad was dead. Just thought I should mention it now."
Bye! Going home, sir.
Don't know. That was one of the worst moments of Spider-Man 3.
That was the worst moment of Spider-Man 3.
It really, truly was.
Yeah. So there's a missing page after this because I can only assume that somehow Harry, Peter, Gwen, and MJ all got ready for the party by dropping LSD because...
Oh, I hope you're not blaming Harry's dialogue on drugs.
Harry Osborn taking drugs. What a laugh.
That's silly.
Yeah, well, the boys are getting dressed in their room, and Harry says, "Between my Gwen and your Mary Jane, we really got it made." Mm-hmm. And then Peter thinks, "It figures, son. We're strictly from Wow City." And then Peter, of course, internally thinks, "What's with me? Why do I get all shook up when I hear him call her his Gwen?" Because
it's clearly because Gwen's been dating Flash this entire time.
And because Gwen has had like 2 dates with him, maybe, and Harry was on a date with Mary Jane like an issue or 2 before. So yeah, Harry's getting a little possessive here over a relationship that is not exclusive.
No way, no.
And we try not to read too much of these word for word because it slows down the recap, but gosh darn it, there's just some weird crack in here. But first, attention Spidey Files, in case you're wondering why we're making with all this Moon June jazz when we've got a cat like Kraven just waiting to be unleashed, don't lose your cool. And then they have a Spidey signal in there for no reason. It's all gonna dovetail together and turn into a symphony of action. Or anyway, that's the way we planned it. Signed, Smiley. He always feels apologize, like when somebody's not getting punched. So Peter and Harry are in the car getting ready to pick up the girls. Good thing you've got this boat, Harry. We'd never be able to pick up both gals on my cycle, although it might be fun to try. I may have to trade this car in soon. It needs a wash. Look, there's Gwen. Ah, my 2 gallant knights on their speeding steed. Gwen, if I didn't know you looked like that, I got in here sooner. What you expect me to look like? Yogi Bear?
I'm gonna bust out of here.
How come, Yogi?
Every day it's the same old thing. Look at the bears, look at the bears, look at the bears. Sheesh.
If you think it's too chilly, we can put the top up. Bite your tongue, impetuous one. We night people thrive on moon burns. And then we have Peter reminding himself once again of the status quo. Gwen liked me, I didn't like her, now I'm with Mary Jane. Gwen doesn't like me. Exposition. Then they go pick up Mary Jane, who surprisingly does look like Yogi Bear.
Hey, Pop! Look at the bears! Look at the bears! Look at the bears!
See what I mean, boo-boo?
No, not really, but, you know. Who exclaims, who needs a car? When there's a party to go to, I can, like, fly all the way.
God.
Yeah.
And you guys try to tell me that she's not on drugs.
Yeah, maybe they dropped LSD before that scene.
On the way.
Well, we go to the party where Betty, remember Betty, back when she and Peter were dating, when Peter, like, you know, was going to Hollywood, Betty's like, I bet you're going to look at other girls there. And then, you know, whenever something happened, you know, Betty would accuse Peter of looking at other girls. Well, now they're not dating anymore. So Betty has no reason to, like, you know, be mad about that. But of course, the first thing that Betty, who's on a date with her fiance, wonders is if her ex-boyfriend Peter has a wandering eye, as she thinks, I wonder which 2 of those gorgeous girls he's most interested in. Tyler, if you and Amanda and John and Hope walked into a party together, my first thought would not be, I wonder which one of those 2 girls Tyler's most interested in. Assume that you're interested in your date. I have no reason to assume. Now, I talked about this with Don, like, before the show before, and, like, really, it's a writing tool, because it's, like, the exposition, because the readers are supposed to wonder who Peter's more interested in. So it's like Betty saying it for the readers. But from an in-universe standpoint, he's with, you know, why are you wondering if Peter cares about what, you know, you're not with Peter anymore. Stop accusing him of cheating on you when you're broken up and you're engaged to somebody else.
How dare he cheat on me while I'm engaged to get married?
Speaking of Amanda real quick, I know she's probably going to be listening to this. And for the record, dear, I have no interest in John's wife.
Of course you'd say that. It's on the record.
Amanda runs away crying.
But I have every interest in Amanda. Yeah.
See, I was going to use that joke with John, like, you know, and then I realized, well, John likes every girl, so, you know. I wonder which one of those 2 girls John's more interested in. Like, that is a legitimate thought that somebody might think, so.
Rendering your entire point useless. Don't use John.
But yeah, 2 different couples walk into a room together, and it's like, I wonder if the guy wants to sleep with his friend's girlfriend. Like, stop looking.
It's funny because in this case, it's true.
It is true. She's on the money, but I don't know. Flash enters, but pretty soon the girls become the center of attention as they do the 1960s version of "You Just Got Served."
I love this page.
Now you're with it, PDO. You know it, lady, but I just want to talk to Flash for a while. Please, no names. The enemy may be listening. This tempo really turns me on. What doesn't turn Mary Jane on? Like, we're going to get to a point where, like, there's a hole in Aunt Anna's house. Like, a hole in the wall, and Mary Jane's like, dig that crazy hole.
And you guys try to tell me she's not on drugs.
Harry, you know, ever the instigator, whispers to Gwen, say, pretty girl, are we going to let Gita and MJ hog the spotlight? MJ, she was supposed to be helping me give out the burgers. No chick who can dance like that is gonna dish out meatballs. Here, friendly philosopher, I've just resigned.
Get low, get low, get low, get low.
So yeah, then the girls, like, in live action, they're like doing some sort of you just got served thing to each other where MJ does a dance, Gwen, like, escalates it, they each escalate it to each other as everyone's cheering and, like, the guys are all drooling. Which here's
Rachel was pissed.
Yeah, as she would be. Yeah, here's a sampling of the guys drooling over. Hey, gang, look at Gwen go. Well, if we could package that, we'd be rich. Come on, let's hear it for the little lady. Boy, Flash on enlist every day. Back, you tigers, give her room. I thought you were passing out the burgers, Gwen. Don't fret, pet. I saved a few for you. And then Flash says, put your eyes back in your head, Parker. You wouldn't stand a chance in that league. Wait. Like, but if Flash, wasn't standing a chance in that league, then, why would he? Or what? Yeah, no, it's just Flash is saying it as if he knows or something, like about Gwen's league. And obviously, if Flash didn't stand a chance in her league either, then Flash would kind of be insulting himself there too. So, would Flash be saying that if, he didn't get a little bit of nookie or two?
No, come on. He's saying that because Flash thinks he knows everything.
He could also be having struck out with Gwen after his attempts to get a thing going with her, be taking his self-defeat and turning it on attack at Parker.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. Well, Harry says, the way MJ's looking at Gwen, there's liable to be an explosion too. Oh, yeah!
It's Kraven the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, yes.
The Kool-Aid Man burst into the room.
Wanting to kill Harry Osborn.
And then Kraven, like, uses his laser nipples to splash the Kool-Aid Man's, like, glass, and, like, Kool-Aid goes all over the floor. Only Kraven gets to do entrances. No, that's how it goes down, minus the Kool-Aid Man. Kraven spots Harry and says he'd recognize the son of Osborn anywhere, probably because of their distinguishing, features.
Like the Tootsie Roll hair?
I was going to say their ears, but yeah, maybe the hair. Flash threatens Kraven for breaking up his party, but Kraven pimp-slash Flash down to the floor. But don't worry, he'll get his revenge in Venom issue 2.
Mm-hmm.
Flash's Venom fought Kraven in issue 2 of their series, and Flash kind of won. Gwen talks about calling the police, and ironically the next words from Kraven's mouth are, "Where is your father?" But he's not talking about Gwen's father, the cop. He's talking about Harry. Peter tells everyone he is running off to call the cops, but we know what he's really doing, right? Right?
Taking photos?
No.
No. What is he really doing? I haven't the faintest idea.
Changes in the Spider-Man, where he taunts Kraven until Kraven forgets about Harry, and they fight at the construction site from the Donkey Kong arcade game, right outside the spoon. Mary Jane's got to be aware of the imminent danger in all this, right? Right? Hey, you're missing the whole bit. Like, talk about it happening. If only Peter would get here with his cool Kodak.
Shut up.
A guy just burst into a party trying to kill one of your friends.
Harry is hurt. He's like not able to stand up on his own.
Talk about it happening. And then Leeds, trying to sound more serious than he really is. Go with them, Betty. Get to someplace indoors. I've got to contact the Bugle and call him the story. This is a real front page scoop. Keep in mind, Ned is talking about going to a phone booth here. And Betty acting like Ned is going out to, like, Vietnam with Flash to die. No! I want to stay with you. If there's any danger, we'll share it together. She's gonna use the telephone, woman. And then Betty thinks, something that made me drop the book again. I remember when I went steady with Peter.
In between dating other people.
Yeah, steady means that neither of you date other people. You dated other people. That's not going steady.
Well, technically, they were exclusive while they were going steady.
Right. It was one-way steady. Peter couldn't date anyone else, and Betty could date Ned.
Exactly. Isn't that how steady goes?
In Betty Brantland, yes. And Betty thinks about how if anything would happen to Ned, she couldn't bear it. Why, she'd absolutely join a cult or something. Jameson and Foswell rush over to the Donkey Kong construction site. Norman Osborn has also heard from his butler about the danger, because in this universe, the butler actually tells people important information regarding life and death.
As opposed to the Raimi universe, the movie universe, the Hollyverse.
The butler probably could have stopped Uncle Ben's killer, but didn't. So Osborn rushes back, hearing that somebody wants to murder him, thinking, wow, I better check this out, and overpays a cab driver to take him to Kraven. Does he know that Harry's in danger? Like, just based on this Kraven thing, I'm kind of confused, but okay. The battle continues, and Kraven's laser nipples even get the best of Spidey. Luckily, the arrival of Norman Osborn distracts Kraven from pimp-slapping Spidey the way he pimp-slapped Flash. But now it's Osborn's turn to get pimp-slapped. Kraven strong-arms Osborn and asks him for the money, and Osborn says, I don't know what you're talking about. I never promised you anything. Never seen you before. Don't make me beat it out of you. My jungle instinct can sense when someone is lying. And, oh my god, again with this. Yeah, and wasps have a natural, detestment of spiders. It's not possible. I remember you. I spoke to you, and yet you don't remember. You don't know anything about it. You're telling the truth. I don't know how, but you're the wrong one. A jungle beast does not attack without reason, and Kraven no longer has reason. Okay, dude, you attack people without reason all the time. The prize is still mine. Kraven has defeated Spider-Man. So Kraven, like the Bond villain he is, runs away, not seeing Spider-Man get up behind him. Osborn falls anyway, and Peter's like, no, not like this, not like Gwen, and catches him. Realizing that Gwen hasn't fallen yet, and that, he's referencing something that Osborn's actually going to do in about 100 issues or so. No, not even 100 issues, in about 80 issues, whatever.
Yeah.
Jameson, runs up and says, oh, Spider-Man was behind this, wasn't he? And Osborn says, oh, come off of it, Jameson, print the truth for once. Spider-Man saved my life, and you know it. And Jameson's like, you're just in shock. Mary Jane, almost witnessing, all these people dying, It was a real gasser, Petey. Yeah. Peter and Flash have one last moment together before he goes off into the army. I wish you all the best, Flash. Something tells me that you've got what it takes to come out on top, fellow. And I'm betting you do. Something, Parker? Ever so often, I figure you're not as square as I thought. Take good care of the chicks for old Flasheroo while I'm gone, you hear? Hope I'm not squeezing your hand too hard, cause, Spider-Man you ain't.
Whoa!
Not Spider-Man or anything. Right? Am I right?
Up, everybody.
Am I right? Well, I'm gonna go wherever these 2 feet take me. Gosh, I love my lucky legs. Hope I never lose them. Finally, the banter dies away. The crowd turns out, and a lonely, thoughtful figure silently trudges homeward. He was probably my greatest fan. If only I could have told him who I was, just once. Maybe I'll get the chance in Civil War, and it'll be retconned in one more day. But why am I thinking of him in the past tense? He'll come back. He'll make it somehow. The good guys always win. Don't they?
Dun dun dun.
Next, The Wings of the Vulture.
Oh.
Well, that was an amazing recap. Thank you very much, Josh, for bringing that.
I think you set the bar for new recaps, Josh.
Really? Thanks. Appreciate it. That didn't come out as good as I would have liked, but okay, cool. Thanks.
So this is an amazing issue. Like, Kraven has the laser nipples, which which are all kinds of ridiculous. He is the worst part of this issue, but in spite of his ridiculousness, this is one of the best issues of the entire series run that we've ever had.
That's why everybody remembers it as every issue.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Speaking of remembering this issue.
So this issue is this has some interesting retcons that have been done to it. Tyler, tell us about some of this stuff, because in addition to being, just generally awesome yourself, you do host the Of Mercs and Mutants podcast, which deals with the character known as Deadpool. And they address this issue at one point.
Yes, Deadpool number 11 of Deadpool's first ongoing series parodies this issue, and it's hilarious. Actually, it started with the issue before this with Deadpool facing off against the Great Lakes Avengers, and him getting sent through a time portal with his live-in hostage, Blind Owl. And I used the word hostage. It's a very funny, complicated story if you want to know about Blind Owl. But basically, she's an old blind woman who Deadpool's taken hostage, and she just kind of stays there of her own free will and harasses Deadpool more than she should. And basically they go through this time portal, and they come out through the porch of Peter's house, and they knock Aunt May silly.
Okay.
And it's great, too, because it starts with Aunt May looking up at the top of the porch saying, "Oh my, I hope I didn't leave the porch light on all night again. You silly May Parker, you don't even have a porch light."
Nice.
So basically, they knock out Aunt May, and while Deadpool tries to figure out what's going on, Aunt Anna visits to help May pack up to move over. Deadpool almost shoots her in the face, but instead they decided it would be a better idea for them to pose as the family in a picture on the fireplace, aka Aunt May and Peter. So they do up Lindau's hair like Aunt May's, and Deadpool sets his holographic generator to look like Peter Parker. And
It's crazy.
it's great because all he does the entire issue is just cause trouble. And they made the coloring look very similar to this, even though it still looks a little newer. But there are like some panels lifted straight up, like there are still flashbacks to Kraven doing stuff, and it's great. But basically, to get out of trouble or to make sure Peter doesn't come home, he calls the school nearby where Peter is, and just randomly Peter happens to pick up.
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. Deadpool explains that there's something Spider-Man should be at, and he could take pictures of in New Jersey. So Peter goes away the entire issue and goes to New Jersey, while Deadpool kind of lives his life. And one of my favorite parts of the issue is when Harry Osborn shows up. It's how I introduced myself in the episode. He says, "What's a scam, hip cat? Thought I'd find you singing with the squares, hanging with the hard cases, rapping with the rubes." And Deadpool just goes, "Are you having a seizure? Speak English."
Awesome.
And he also makes several comments about the Osborn's hair.
Nice. We
Wait,
got to
so
do that.
Does this retcon the issue to where Peter's not in the issue anymore?
Yeah, it's all Deadpool posed as Peter.
So this issue is not in continuity anymore. Or this issue, like they went back in time and
And changed it, yes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Who is
And-
Jack Hammer?
He is the Weasel. Pretty much he's Deadpool's hacker friend. And it's great because, as it turns out, he went to ESU with Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy, but he was a bigger nerd than Peter, and nobody ever noticed him. And Deadpool finds him in this issue and just goes, "Hey, Weasel, how's it hanging?" And Jack gets all offended because he's this, big sophisticated science man. And so Deadpool takes Jack along with him and Mary Jane and Gwen to this party. And actually, Betty Brant is no longer in the issue at all. So that would improve. Josh thinks more of it now. And all this time, like every time Aunt May goes to wake up because she fainted when they knocked her out, they have this pulley system set up so that this thing will lower and scare her. And it even has "boo" written out on a sign, and she faints and goes back into her car.
That's pretty cool. Who wrote that?
It was Joe Kelly, actually. And I know a lot of people did not like his work on Amazing Spider-Man, but his Deadpool run is considered the best by a lot of fans. And this is why. So they all dress up to go to this party, and Deadpool makes fun of how Peter only has blue suits and laughs when he sees like Jack Hammer and Flash in like red and green suits. He even laughs harder with Harry in his purple suit. And basically that whole scene with Gwen dancing, it's retcon now so that it's not because she was jealous of Mary Jane. It's because Weasel, aka Jack Hammer, invited her to dance. So it's like the same panel, and he's just kind of Forrest Gumped in. And like he has this thought balloon. "I'm doing it. I'm dancing with Gwen Stacy. My life is now complete."
Nice.
And all the kids consider him cool at the end of the issue. Then Kraven comes in and starts messing up the party, and Deadpool thinks he'll take him down, but he doesn't want to just take off his holographic, thing, because he doesn't want people to know that he wasn't really Peter Parker. And he even thinks no one will think twice if a wuss like Parker runs from a fight. So basically, they Forrest Gump in Deadpool to a lot of the poses. Like, there's a panel where he's hanging off of one of the girders, using his hands and feet, and he even says, "Listen, Cravey, the cool way I'm holding onto these girders may impress the babes." And he just goes on about how ridiculous he's standing and all that. And then at the end of the issue, Deadpool actually knocks Kraven out by swinging in on a rope. and then he catches Norman Osborn after he falls. And as Peter comes back, and the whole scene is replayed out, Peter's thinking to himself, "This is strange, you're talking about me as if I was here the whole time."
Oh, good stuff.
Deadpool, deciding that he needs to fix continuity and not make Jack Hammer such a cool guy, goes to Norman Osborn and finds out that besides Peter, Jack Hammer is the other top candidate for, I guess it's the employment position at Oscorp, even though it's not named that yet.
Boy.
Yeah. He actually tells Norman that Jack has a bunch of disorders, and Norman says, "You know what, I'm just going to give you time to work on your addiction. You can get yourself cured." So Jack Hammer turns out to be the Weasel because because Deadpool wrecks his chance with Norman Osborn and then introduces him to booze. And at the very end of the issue, we come back with Al talking to Anna, and she says she has dressed Al in a nightgown because Blind Al's blind and can't dress herself. I don't know why Aunt Anna wasn't tipped off by this. And Al says, "If I look as stupid as I think I do, you better invest in a lock." And it's just, Al is completely taken aback, and she doesn't want to act like Aunt May anymore because she can't stand the stupidity of Anna Watson. So after this, Deadpool and Al go back into the present and finish dealing with the Great Lakes Avengers, and it's just a really fun story overall.
Well, it sounds like it. And that's Deadpool number 11?
Yes, that is Deadpool number 11. It's actually I'd say it's probably one of the best issues of the entire series, and it's also one of the rarest just because it wasn't even double, it was triple sized. Because on the cover, Deadpool says it's only 64 pages with only 2 ads.
Gotcha. Well, that will certainly shed some new light on how the events in here played out. Now, I guess, do we want to say is that the way things always happened, or is that a new series of events, or have they made a new timeline, or does it really matter? I don't know.
I'm going to go with it. It doesn't really matter.
No, if you're a Spider-Man fan, you don't need to read this story at all. But if you're a Deadpool fan who's also happened to read this issue, you can it's really any one of the above. I like to think that it happened instead of what happened in Spider-Man number 47.
Uh-huh.
Just because it then sets up, why Weasel becomes the way Weasel is.
Gotcha.
Well, at one point or another, this issue did occur the way it does, so it's all good.
Now, speaking of going back and retconning things.
No, we don't. We aren't doing From Marriage to Mephisto, John.
So Kraven gives us some flashbacks to his previous 2 stories in Amazing Spider-Man 15 and 34, yeah. Completely flies in the face of everything that had happened in those issues.
It doesn't work at all.
Yeah, it doesn't work at all. He says
what?
that...
You didn't pay me for work I didn't do?
Right? Because Chameleon called Kraven to the country to catch Spider-Man because no one he knows is foolish enough to go after Spider-Man. Oh, wait, my friend Kraven might.
He's foolish enough.
And also my secret brother.
Yeah, also my secret brother. But what we find out is that Kraven was already here. He didn't just come off the boat, and that he had a business deal with Norman Osborn to go after Spider-Man. Those 2 series of events can't go together.
I thought that they were just referencing 34. When exactly do they reference his first appearance?
The first fight is 15. The second fight is 34.
It's the only way it works, because they can't do... Because they only fought once in 34.
The Green Goblin...
here he fights and shakes down Osborn and then fights Spider-Man again.
The Green Goblin takes Spider-Man to Hollywood to hit him on the head with a rock in issue 14. And then he hires Kraven to go after Spider-Man in issue 15. And then that doesn't work. Kraven goes to get his money from Norman Osborn and can't find the Green Goblin. Or he thinks he's going after Green Goblin. He can't find the Green Goblin. He sees Norman Osborn instead. At this point, Norman Osborn is still the Green Goblin. Kraven just doesn't know it. And then Spider-Man and Kraven have another fight.
Okay.
And then later on, he finds out that Green Goblin died in a fire. Which is really funny to say whenever it actually happened.
Right. Well, in this instance, I would be very surprised if no one called in Lee on the letters saying that this doesn't add up at all, because it really doesn't. Because he says check issues 15 and 34. Once you check that in, you'll find out that Chameleons was there, and other stuff.
Right.
And that's why the Deadpool version makes more sense.
Probably. Yeah, there is a sequel to this of sorts, though, the Kraven-Osborn relationship, because in Amazing Spider-Man Annual 96, it wasn't the 96 annual. They actually called it Annual 96 for 1996, the year
right
it
in
came
front
out.
of me.
Yeah, isn't that a good book?
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Osborn gets his memory back a teeny bit-ish, and this is so it's actually kind of contrived, but it's very Silver Age. Mary Jane isn't giving Harry attention, so Harry goes to his dad for advice. His dad's like, wow, you're so gay. You like a girl? Huh, I'll make a man out of you. So Osborn calls a thug to basically hire Kraven to try and kill Harry to make him more of a man.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't wind up working so Kraven goes after Osborn again for the same reasons. He goes after Harry, and Mary Jane's like, "Aren't you gonna do something, Harry?" And Harry pees his pants. He doesn't actually pee his pants, but you get the gist.
Well, there's a gun on the ground. She says, "Harry, pick it up," and he's like, "I can't."
Can't or won't. And at the end, Kraven's like, you know what? I'm going to try and kill Norman Osborn again. So he goes into Norman Osborn's office. At this point, Norman has his full memory back, and he's like, all right, Kraven, you want your money? Here's your money. And then Kraven's like, what? I don't want your money. What makes you think I want your money? There's no honor in taking money from you. And then Kraven leaves.
But, yeah. That issue took place sometime after this, because it had Captain Stacy.
It has Captain Stacy figuring out that Peter is Spider-Man.
Exactly.
But everyone in the book is reacting as if Peter and Gwen have just went on their first dates. They just started going steady. That's the big deal this issue.
The timeline of that
going steady doesn't mean much.
The timeline of the annual takes place during the drug era, where Peter and Gwen were heavily seeing each other. Not exactly in the drug era, but it's Peter and Gwen and Harry and Mary Jane, and that's when Mary Jane starts her whole I don't really care about you, Harry thing.
So I think that whenever
because Harry asked Mary Jane to go steady, and Mary Jane says no. But she kind of says no, huh, what a laugh, Harry. That's a good one. But Harry's like, but I was serious.
When I think I want to track down a supervillain, the first place I'm going to go is to the newspaper archives and look through their old files.
That's what Daredevil does, multiple times. Oh, I need to learn about, the Matador. Let's go to the newspaper.
Yeah, but he's a lawyer. I mean, that's kind of his MO for everything he does in life is...
He goes as Daredevil, though, in costume.
That's funny.
He should go as Matt Murdock, because then, if anyone catches him there, it's not Daredevil freeze. It's oh, Mr. Murdock, help! I'm a blind man, and I've wandered into this records building by mistake.
Well, not just that, but, I think Matt Murdock has, a costume fetish or something, because he just puts it on when there's absolutely no need. The Fantastic Four want him to do a lease on his building. They get a photo of him so that he can walk right in, but then he puts on his costume and swings through a window.
At the bottom of page 4, we continue our fetish with Sophia Loren. Harry Osborn says, I'd better see who's at the door. I'd hate to keep Sophia Loren waiting. Or would you believe Captain Kangaroo?
This is the start of Harry talking to himself, which he thinks he's much more popular than he is, because Peter's still talking on the phone, and then Harry's like I better see who's at the door. I hate to keep Sophia Loren waiting. Or would you believe Captain Kangaroo? And Peter's not paying any attention to him. So
yeah, they say that back and forth. He says, I'll bet she's putting you on, son. Your aunt's probably hipper than you. And Peter says, who isn't, Dad? No, not you, Aunt May. I was talking to Harry.
Right, and then Harry starts to trail off into his own little Tootsie Roll world.
Now, he says, would you believe Captain Kangaroo? Now, I was all prepared to tease y'all for not being old enough to watch Captain Kangaroo until I went onto YouTube to see some clips of Captain Kangaroo, and I realized that the man that I have been associating in my head with the name Captain Kangaroo all my life is actually Mr. Peppermint. And
what?
I saw Mr. Peppermint shows as a kid, but as a not-so-kid, whenever I would hear the name Captain Kangaroo, I would think it was Mr. Peppermint. And so that's a big fail on my part.
I remember Captain Kangaroo commercials, when I was a kid. I could sing the song right now if I had to, but I won't.
Let's talk about the Silver Spoon. Is that where the party takes place?
No, it takes place in Gwen's,
no. How about we get to the main event?
Mm-hmm.
Any objections? In this corner, Flash Thompson. In this corner, Gwen Stacy. In the middle corner, a dinner for two. Will they meet in the middle corner for a dinner for two? Will that dinner for two be a date, or just be a dinner that two people are on together? Find out.
Who do you want to go first, John? Me or him?
Okay. This is really going to be interesting. Let's let Josh go first.
Not really much else to say that hasn't already been said. I mean, this isn't a one-off comment in one issue. There's been references to throughout. I will give to Dawn that, yeah, if she and Flash were, like, somewhat serious, and I'm not saying that they didn't date, but if they were more serious, then Gwen taking Harry to the goodbye party would have been, like, a really, 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 I don't want to say the B word because I feel that's disrespectful, but a really bad move on her part in substitution of another B word. But I maintain that this has been like Archie and the gang dating, and there's been multiple reference to it in multiple issues. It's really, really hard to coincidentally say that all of those were just, everyone joking. There's evidence to the contrary, so I mean, I'll rebuttal Don's points when he gets to it, I guess, but everyone's just casually dating. I mean, there's a scene in the first Kingpin arc where, like, Gwen is out on a date with Harry, and Mary Jane straight up says, well, that's only because Peter didn't ask her on a date first. If Gwen Stacy has no problem going out on dates with Harry and then going out on a date with Peter, Harry's roommate, the next week, then I don't think that her dating Flash and dating Harry is that big of a deal.
Okay. I have things I want to say, but I will hold back as the host of the event and say, Dawn, take the stage.
All right. This is my final argument. And I want to get this I really want to kind of finish this off tonight, but I don't want to misconstrue Josh's argument. But whenever he says Flash and Gwen were dating, this might just fall down to a discrepancy of the terms, because you're not going to see me deny that they went out twice, maybe even 3 times. I think twice. At the same time, she went out with Harry more than once, and with this issue. I think that Josh has been saying this all along. Gwen is just kind of like the ESU bicycle, really. Like,
oh no,
no, I'm dead serious. Like this chick, like she pretty much, like, she's sort of like the more demure Mary Jane, in the fact that she'll roll with any guy as long as she can sort of be seen with a guy at her arm for popularity. That's what I gathered. I do not think that she and Flash were dating, because that to me says that they were a couple. Now, you can say they went on dates, that's fine, but you can also say that she and Harry went on dates, and I don't think that, at the end of the day, I don't think that she and Harry were a couple either. I think that she went on dates with them without dating. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when she first went with Peter, that's why she and Peter stuck together like glue for so long, because they were seriously like into it. They weren't just like hanging out together and calling it dates. That is my final thing. Basically, Gwen was like a cheese pizza to all these guys, and her throwing the thing for Flash and all that, it was just out of pure generosity. I don't think it was because she was his gal.
I don't think she was ever Flash's gal. I think what you just said, they went on dates. Now, I would guess it was more than 2 or 3, because I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on between the issues and off panels that we never hear about or see about. So let's say that she was casually going out with, her guy friends. Maybe they wanted it to turn towards something romantic. Maybe it didn't. I think that she dated Flash more than Harry over these last few issues since issue 30. And that's why they make the comments about how she's Flash's girl and who's going to take her place with you, who's going to take his place with you, Gwen, and those sorts of things, because she and Flash have gone on several dates, and everyone knows they've been seeing a lot of each other. Personally, I think that the reason that she doesn't go with Flash to Flash's own party is because Flash wanted something more from Gwen, and Gwen got tired of it. And because Gwen didn't want that from Flash. They could go out, they could have some fun together, they could go see a movie or whatever. Maybe there's some casual intimacy, like hugging or something at the end of the day. I don't know. To me, that's casual dating, and it is dating, but it's not a Flash and Liz relationship. It's not a Peter and Gwen relationship. It's not even as possibly serious as MJ and Harry got at one point. I don't know, because I forget exactly how the Harry MJ nuances went.
They call each other lover, Harry and MJ, not Flash and Gwen. So, I mean, it implies that there's more affection. Now,
well, you
granted,
one of the 70s books, right?
Right. I mean, granted, there could have been more affection between Flash and Gwen off panel, but we're going by what's on panel. So I would say, judging by what's on panel, Harry and MJ were more serious than Flash and Gwen.
Yeah. Flash and
roll
Gwen
that,
went on
yeah.
some dates. They had something that never went to anything.
Well, there's so many times in the last couple of issues where Gwen looks like she can't stand Flash. Yeah, she's with him, she's hanging out with him, but every time she never like addresses him, he's always talking to her. There was one point in that last issue where like she
Stop
once they
breathing
started,
on me.
yeah, exactly. Like they started talking about Flash, and she's like, "Gentlemen, we are trying to study." We mean her and Peter. Now, obviously, I'm not going to contest that she was more interested in Peter than anyone else. But the thing is that like when people say, "Who's going to take his place with you, doll?" I'm not. I really do think they're just like being glib there. I'm not making that up because there's like look at Gwen's face on page 6. Does that look like somebody who's like seriously going to go out with Flash Thompson? I mean, from what we see on the panels, they had definitely, gone on one-on-one coffee breaks or whatever. But I do not see it as dating. I just see it as, like, sort of playing the field. And I think that it's getting misconstrued to say that, yes, Gwen and Flash were dating just to sort of build a continuity that I don't think is really there, in my opinion. And it's mostly dictated on the terms.
See, what you're saying is, like, they went out on multiple dates, but they weren't dating. It's being really selective with, like, what means dating.
You're exactly right. But yeah.
Look, I mean, you've acknowledged that they've gone out on dates, that they went out on multiple dates. Going out with multiple dates with someone is the term dating. I'm not arguing, that, like, they made out in the back of Flash's car and that, like, Flash was ever... I may have used the term, like, boyfriend, once or twice, like, in passing, but, like, the way that, like, you call, like, a girl who's a friend of yours a girlfriend, but no, like, Flash was... I'm not going to argue that, like, Flash was, like, her official boyfriend the way that, Peter would be, or something.
Okay. I think we can come to terms with that, because... go ahead. I don't know.
You're being a little stubborn with the dating thing, though. You're like, they went on dates, but they weren't dating. Well, that's
I think the term means something stronger to Don than it does to Josh. Yeah. I think the term dating... Because I personally feel like...
I'm being literal with it, and Donovan's not. Okay.
He's using it as a label for a relationship that you might not necessarily be intending.
Yes.
I think possibly that we're going to come down to say that we actually are meaning the same thing. We're just using different ways to describe it.
That's what it sounds like we're all coming from here.
But if someone were to ever ask me, did Flash and Gwen ever date? Yes, they dated. Using the verb went on dates to mean to date, they dated.
That's sort of like where I come on the opposite. Because I just go back to that Spider Jeopardy where JR got the question wrong because Josh said, well, Gwen and Flash went out. And I know that, it's in how you define the terms, but I was like, that's not true. But really...
But it is. From what's on the pen, they did go out on dates.
Technically there, but I have to agree with Don on this one that I have a stronger meaning for the term myself, and that I think he was right that she just kind of had whoever was on her arm at the time. And to tell you the truth, I wouldn't be surprised if, Flash definitely made a huger deal out of this to the guys.
Oh, probably.
That's what I think.
And in his own mind, I bet.
My imagining of it is similar to John's in that they went out. Gwen was attracted to Flash early on. You can argue as much by looking at issue 31. She's flirting with him, so she was interested. That interest quickly fizzled. They did things together, and maybe during those things there'd be like kind of like a Happy Days moment or something where like he would put his arm around her shoulder and she'd be like Flash and like slap his arm or something. I don't know. And they would still date, but Gwen clearly did not want anything more. Flash tried for something more. And eventually, Gwen made sure that Flash understood that it was never going to be anything more. And maybe taking Harry to the party was part of sending that message. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into that. But
you can never read too much into these things. And even still, like, Gwen Stacy as a character, like, I think the one consistent trait of her is that she's pretty... I think she has a certain opinion of herself that she's not... Like, when you think back in, like, the protest issues, where she, like, slaps that one guy... I think she sort of is sort of big on herself, so I don't see her like just degrading. I don't see her dating Flash Thompson if she feels so strongly against him, like we've seen in the last couple of issues during the Lizard arc.
Well, I see it as like in the '90s animated series, Flash's relationship with Alicia in the first season. Like remember, your girl. Like in previous episodes, they're clearly out on dates. Harry sees them, and Flash is like, "Scram, Harry." But like if you Flash is like making time with my girl, and then Felicia's saying your girl, I'm not anyone's girl.
It's you know what, that's very tricky. That's very tricky because I agree with you with the 90s show. I don't necessarily agree with you here, but while I can't exactly explain why, I would be lying if I said that I would come to terms with that. I mean, on page 8 we have Harry saying, between my Gwen and your Mary Jane, we've really got it made. And Peter saying, why do I get shook up when I hear him call her his Gwen? I mean, that's something to consider if we're talking about an era where Gwen and Flash were.
And see, by this point, I think we've been having this discussion ever since issue 30, right? And here we are in issue 47. So I think that by this point, Gwen and Flash have had their arc. They've had their relationship, and or whatever it was that happened between them. And now Harry and Gwen are starting to see more of each other. And Peter's jealous because he likes Gwen, and that's why he's saying, why does it bother me whenever he calls her his Gwen?
And I think Harry's just overly excited about having a date with Gwen.
It's his very first girlfriend, and she's really freaking hot.
Yeah.
Who he's had a crush on since high school.
Right. Back whenever she wore those glasses and... Oh, wait.
Yeah, that happened. I mean, and there's going to be things in the future, like when Flash comes back from the army for a visit, and, he says, are you trying to beat my time with Gwen? And Peter says, you never had any time to beat.
Mm-hmm.
That goes in line with what MJ says to Harry in the drug arc. I was never your girl. That doesn't mean that they didn't date. It just means that, MJ didn't consider herself his girl. Flash and Gwen did not kiss. They, nothing but they went out on things that, were considered more than friendship, but not boyfriend and girlfriend, something in between. I mean, casual dating, and here's a reason why we're having this argument too. That type of dating, and this is from somebody who's 25 years old, who wasn't alive during this time, but culturally, dating has changed.
Yeah.
The whole, casual dating has, is gone. It's, you're hooking up, when you're with someone, you're with someone. There's no just meeting them, at the coffee bean, and having a coffee and that's a date. No, that's...
Or meeting somebody for lunch and then calling it a date at the last second.
You wouldn't have a girl dating several guys at one time in this day and age because she'd be called names.
Especially in high school.
And you could do it in a high school, and, she can date multiple guys within a group of friends. I mean, and again, I wasn't around back then, but I mean, I'm assuming from... This is going to sound so stupid, I'm losing credibility by saying this, but from what I've seen in, TV shows and movies and read in books from that era, that seems to be, how it went. You went out on dates with a girl, and then eventually you would ask her to quote-unquote go steady. And go.
That's what happened. That's what happened in Leave It to Beaver. That's what happened in Happy Days, I think. That's what they would do.
Whereas now we put that cart before that horse, and we start this person from social settings, and then you ask them to be your one true devoted person.
Yeah. I think now it all depends on communication. I don't think Gwen and Flash were communicating. I don't think they could in this day and age. I don't think they were on the phone with each other, in between panels.
She would go out. Yeah, I mean, really, we're just repeating our points now.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of come to an agreement. It's just perspective. So, I guess I don't want to jump ahead of the host, but I mean, I guess we're tabling this for now.
Yeah, no, I think we pretty much resolved it until it comes up again, which probably won't.
It will.
The one thing I do want to say about this issue is, oh my effing god, the art.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, I mean, when I think of John Romita, and I think of what he brought to this book, I think of Gwen's boobs. I mean...
oh, that's what I think.
And legs, and that panel of her dancing, and the way he draws her. Oh my god! And Mary Jane is, I mean... The way her dress is cut, it's not as easy to, follow the lines, but it's...
Their dresses actually look very Ditko to me, just because of the designs.
It's very 60s. They're both very, very 60s. But I love the art in this book. Mary Jane's expression whenever she realizes that Gwen has stopped passing out the burgers.
That's always weird to me, just because I've never seen her look so frosted. But it's a very, very well done picture.
the random people at this party also look really good. The one girl in the blue and purple with the hoop earrings, she's in a couple of panels, and she's given as much detail as anybody else, and we have no clue who this person is.
Right. The body language is all good. I mean, there's a lot of there's like when Flash gets smacked away, thwop, by Kraven, his hands already bracing for the impact to hit the floor.
Right.
There's a lot of really really good stuff there, and I can't help but think if this was done in the modern day, like Gwen and Mary Jane would just be like grinding on people, but like it is really funny to see.
Oh God.
No, that's why I suggested that song, just because that's what I think, because this is the time where these were the hottest people in Marvel Comics, I think. So when you have these characters just kind of be loose and free and everything like that, it's fun to watch even though it's dated.
And Stan's talked about it in interviews a lot. It's a very famous story because he keeps on repeating it, that he wanted Gwen to be the one for Peter, but Mary Jane was just always so interesting. So he and Romita would try and make Gwen more glamorous and more exciting than Mary Jane, but it never seemed to work. And this whole thing where Mary Jane's dancing, but then when Gwen is dancing, tries to emphasize Gwen more. I think that this is what Stan was talking about.
I personally think it works. I think Gwen stands out way more than Mary Jane in this issue. Mary Jane is a bit of a floozy in this entire book.
Well, yeah. The whole thing is, hey guys, Gwen's awesome. There's a bunch of guys like, Gwen, we all love you so much. Will you love one of us? After the party, then Harry comes, Gwen, I love you. And Peter's like, I wish Gwen loved me. Then Gwen's at the party dancing, and all the guys are like, wow, isn't Gwen awesome? We all love her.
Sue? Are you trying to say she's a Mary Sue?
No.
Sure you are.
I'm just saying, you can see Stan, really trying here.
Well, that's the thing, because we've said before on and off the air, I think, that this issue is the one issue that people just completely define this era with all the main characters being showcased in one form or another at the same time, being all 60s and dated. And it's interesting because it really is one of those issues you can hand off to anybody to get them started on the Spider-Man character, but it's seen as such a defined. That's probably why Kraven was a villain for the 96 annual, which took place not around this time, but sort of had that mindset in mind.
Right.
Yeah, for some reason, this is just one of the bigger issues of Amazing Spider-Man that people remember and kind of think of when they think of classic Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Yeah, in Spectacular Spider-Man issue 250, where Mary Jane's thinking of the good old days, and she opens up a photo album, and it's this. It is this party. Everyone's dressed in the same outfits. Everyone's and for some reason, Betty Brandt's in the picture with them. No sign of Ned Leeds.
I would love to see Betty Brandt grind on Ned Leeds, try to make Peter jealous. Why is he looking at me? And
have I really lost him for good?
I need to see that now.
Please.
And the fight scenes are really good too, I think, with the Spider-Man and Kraven.
Well, out of all the great things of this issue, I still think Deadpool topped it. Probably just because this is such a classic issue. I think that's why that one works so well.
Yeah.
Because, it's a classic issue that pretty much everybody knows the plot line of. And although they left off, having such a roughhouser like Deadpool trying to take over for mild-mannered Peter Parker is just kind of hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Well, in Spider-Man Blue, it's interesting to note that, at the end of this issue, which this probably...
Blue. I know where you're going. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Oh, no, because you know where I'm going. After all the fighting's been done, it's Valentine's Day, and Peter's, undressing because the party's at Peter and Harry's apartment as opposed to, this random place. And, Peter has his shirt off in the sunlight or the moonlight and everything. And earlier in the issue, he gets a Valentine. He thinks it's from Aunt May. But, at the end of the issue, Gwen says it was from him. So, oh, Peter, will you be my Valentine? And then, Peter kisses her. That's when you had me, Gwen Stacy. All of me, which really implies that they had sex.
Because he's half naked when they're kissing, too. He was undressing.
Right. And he says all of me, which is, I think, a Miles Davis jazz song.
And then JMS said, not 1 or 2 years later, and since past, me and Gwen we never ever.
Well, that was Quesada's editing, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
But even if we leave out the sex part, the idea is that Peter and Gwen hooked up at this point, and I'm not entirely sure that that's going to play out truly in the next few issues.
Oh, they obviously didn't. Like judging by the motorcycle ride in issue 50, please.
Yeah. No. I mean, that would imply they hook up at this issue. They don't hook up for like what, another 20 issues? 25?
He's still dating Mary Jane, like, in between the panels and stuff. They don't hook up until like issue 53 is.
53. Well,
53 would be right after the Kingpin story.
Yes,
right.
that's their first date. The Doctor with chaperone Professor Warren. Yeah, we're gonna have fun with that one.
So, so Tim Sale completely pulled that out of his ass.
In Spider-Man Blue, when they like do this, the version that they do is Kraven's looking for Spider-Man, and at the beginning, Harry borrows Peter's cologne.
Oh yeah.
And that's why Kraven attacks Harry in this issue, not because he's after Osborn, but because he thinks Harry's Spider-Man, because Harry smells like Spider-Man.
Wow.
Who else could smell like that? It has to be Spider-Man.
It must be Spider-Man. He put Michael here in the first place. Yeah. But okay, now all joking aside about Betty and Ned's involvement in this story, it really feels weird that like Peter invited them to this thing. like he has to bring his own friends. Like,
Well,
Especially since it's Flash's going away party. Flash doesn't even get his own friends.
But it's a big party, and it wouldn't be the first time or the last time that friends you invite their own friends.
that's true. And this like got me into deeper ruminations, which I've shared with you guys off the air before, about like, Spider-Man supporting cast. And like when stuff like this happens, it always feels like Ned and Betty seem more like chaperones. And I realized like when the Daily Bugle casts and the ESU cast, because there's, Spider-Man supporting cast is divided into different worlds. And when the ESU cast and the Daily Bugle cast mix, it really feels weird. Like when J. Jonah Jameson had a party, it was the Len Wein run.
Right.
And Flash Thompson is like at J. Jonah Jameson's house looking through his records. I'm thinking, why is Flash Thompson here? Just like, why are Betty Branton... Now, granted, Betty and Branton Ned Leeds are going to have bigger ties to Flash Thompson in the future, but at this point they don't. And that's like, in Brand New Day, when, like, there's that Everyone Hates Betty Brant issue, and she's crying because Harry Osborn didn't come to her birthday party. Like, I remember reading that 2 years ago thinking, when have Betty and Harry given, like, two rats' asses about each other?
Well, don't forget, Flash, why weren't you at Marlon Madison's funeral? Everyone was looking for you.
Exactly. That's why that didn't work for me either. But it's like it's from two different worlds, and sometimes the worlds will intersect when like Glory Grant dates Randy Robertson, or Betty kind of crosses over once in a while when she dates Flash, but otherwise it's I just came to the conclusion that like the Daily Bugle world, like, Ben Urich, sharing a beer with Harry Osborn, would that seem right to you?
No, it seems to drive. Well, it's because it's just like every character that of Spider-Man's universe has to know each other, or else it gets too confusing. That's what the writer Stan Lee here thinks. So that's why he has Ned and Betty say, "Of course we know Flash Thompson." I mean, Ned doesn't know Flash Thompson. So
he's the ESU star quarterback.
I mean, like, what do you think, John? Do you think it's like just compliant, or does it work better for the story?
Well, I do think it's weird to cross the streams on those sorts of things, especially from this era. And when you get to like the 80s and 90s, these people's lives have intersected enough times that they start to have their own relationships.
Betty and Flash.
Yeah, Betty and Flash and that sort of thing. That becomes more believable. At this point, when you have those kinds of pinups, the only thing I can think of is like, this is Peter Parker and all the different branches of his life. And I don't know about you, but whenever I have a get-together where different branches of my life come together, it's weird. Because you have 3 or 4 or 6 circles of friends that don't know each other. And to find out that some of them do is strange. And then to have a situation where they overlap, like, a big birthday or wedding or something, then you have to sort of like float between the different cliques. And so yeah, it is definitely strange.
It's definitely odd when like you have the extended family get together and then you have a few of your friends. Like that's why I can't imagine for Flash that it's awkward, because he's seen Betty and they've hung out before, but really they don't know each other that well. As far as I'm aware, they haven't really spoken.
They don't speak for the first time, and it's sad that I know this, but like I'm that OCD. The first time Betty and Flash talk to each other is the Hypno Hustler issue of Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh wow, that's
Which-
a really long ways away.
Which is issue 24, I believe. Yeah, it's issue 24.
Wait,
Yeah,
Amazing means Spectacular, right?
Like, I mean, they'll be in the same room together. They'll go to events for each other. Flash will go to Betty Brant's wedding, but we won't see them on panel speaking to each other until the Hypno Hustler issue.
Nice.
Right,
Is it
and
retcon that they talk before that?
In Untold Tales, the Doctor Strange one-shot, the only time in Untold Tales where they interact is, like, there's a group of people, and Peter runs away for a Spider-Man-related thing, and, like, each person, like, Jameson's there, Liz is there, Jason's there, like, each person says something, and, like, Betty says a comment, that was strange, and then Flash says, even for Peter, which is, like, in response to what Betty says, so that's kind of a conversation. But that's OCD stuff that nobody cares about but me.
That's not a conversation. That's an
Okay, well, I was
incorrect
just- I still think it's weird because, like, I mean, I don't know how much independence Flash has. I mean, we've never really seen his family life. At least, I'll take that back, Josh, before you jump on me with the, 13 details of times we have seen what his dad was like.
His dad, his sister, his mom.
At this point in the comics, though, we know nothing about Flash as a person.
That is
Yeah.
true.
In my mind, when I was reading this, I thought that this was held at Flash's house, which would make sense for his going away party.
That's really Happy Days. Flash lives above the silver spoon.
This is an abandoned warehouse or something.
Slides down like the fireman's pole.
Well, it's not the Copacabana.
Well, I wanted to talk about that because, like, this is, I mean, we said before, the Flash is going to come back pretty soon, frequently, but this is like the last time he's sort of like, I don't know, like he's there every issue. So I was wondering, like, if you think that because we talked about how maybe Stanley was possibly going to write Ned Leeds off. If you wonder, like, what were the odds of Flash actually getting killed off in Vietnam? Some to none, probably, but.
Oh, I don't believe there was any chance whatsoever.
Yeah, because you don't want to kill off your supporting cast that easily.
And Flash has never gone long enough for you to miss him. He comes
Right.
back, and I think it's issue 52 is the next time we see him. We're on issue 47 right now, so what, 5 issues we're going to see him again?
He never actually makes it to Vietnam. He keeps on flying, like, making half of the trip and then turning around and coming back.
He got to the, like, airport, chickened out, and has been, like, hanging out, like, in the ESU library, hiding in, like, some, like, section. And then, like, shows up every once in a while because, like, he's too scared to tell everyone that, like, he chickened out. Like, hey, guys, wow, the army's great. Yeah, and, there was an Asian temple, with warriors, and I met a girl named, what's an Asian name that sounds real? Shashan. Yeah, her name was Shashan. Yeah, that sounds like a real Vietnamese name. And, yeah, well, anyway, back to Vietnam. See you guys later. I might die. Gwen and Mary Jane, you might want to kiss me. Oh, yeah, I lied. Gwen does kiss Flash once, but it's when she's dating.
Oh,
Peter.
yeah, no, that's actually the first time we see a full-on kiss in the title because, not to doom my argument, but she literally, like, I think Mary Jane kisses him, like, near the mouth, and Gwen's like, oh, well, let me show you how I kiss, like, totally, like, tongues him down before he leaves.
Well, before we sort of start wrapping things up, I had a few continuity things I wanted to throw in there. We do see a very, very important first appearance in this issue that I don't know if you realize was here, but Norman Osborn's secretary shows up here. This is her first of her many illustrious appearances, and by that I mean that she has one more in
I would
'96.
say all two of them.
Yeah, and
But she looks the same, so, good on continuity.
right. Her hair color is different, but that could be easily explained.
The Goblin formula.
Yeah, exactly. They people keep saying in living color, like, is that really you, son? I'm here, Dad, in living color.
Well,
And
they
I
did it
just
for
wanted
Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to point out that that's because this, right now, is when color television was becoming popular. The sales of color TV sets really exploded in 1966. The 66 to 67 TV season was the first that had all 3 of the major networks transmitting full-color primetime programming. So, when Star Trek started in 1966 as a color television show, that was the first year that ABC, NBC, and CBS were showing all color all evening.
Well, it's funny because, like, whenever they say in living color, as I said before, I have black and white, so it's a dirty lie, as opposed to Masterworks.
Yeah, but yeah, this was a great issue. One thing about this issue I thought was good was that this did a great job of showing that Norman Osborn can be a normal person. I mean, he's not stressing. He's not on the verge of a mental breakdown. He's just
he
being
encourages
normal.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but he encourages Spider-Man.
Right, and it's just you're never going to see Norman Osborn like this again. It's one of the few times that he has been normal.
Really, I think the next time you see him is like, or the next time the next time that I can remember is like before he becomes the Green Goblin again, which is like when he starts to get agitated in the drug arc. But I know he does it before then. I just can't remember.
There's some subplot stuff that leads up to Spectacular Spider-Man, the black and white magazine, which the second issue was in color. Issue 2, where like he remembers being the Goblin a little bit, and like, you know, Peter's nervous. Oh boy, I hope he's not going to remember. There's him saving Gwen from the Kingpin and the brain. Well, and the brainwasher. The Kingpin was the brainwasher, which supposedly, according to Marvel, like that's the official Marvel stance, by the way, is that like that's when Gwen went to see him and they conceived the Stacy twins.
Where does Marvel confirm that this is where Gwen Stacy had sex with Norman Osborn?
In one of the Marvel handbooks that they released that had a biography of either Gwen or one of her kids or something.
You don't need to be a Bretonian to know that that's out of continuity, because like that she did it in that story. Wasn't that like around the time Harry was on drugs?
Yeah, that's the thing, is she flees to Paris right after that drug situation.
Right.
But she doesn't flee to Paris right after she's pregnant. Look, the pregnancy doesn't work for a lot of reasons that we'll get into when we get to that era.
Yeah.
But
in our hospital beds.
This is what's going to happen. Eventually, a writer who loves Gwen so much is going to retcon since past, so none of this pregnancy stuff's going to matter. They're going to reveal that Mary Jane was like brainwashed or given a post-hypnotic suggestion, so she really doesn't remember the conversation that she thought she heard. Sarah Stacy's actually that original Gwen clone that's still running around, and Gabriel Stacy's some reject clone. The end.
Of an attempt of Warren, of, you know, Professor Warren's of experimentation phase.
Spider Island.
Be this whole thing of like Sarah Stacy, like I must find that Gwen Stacy clone. She's the only link to my mother, and then like she's like it's basically her chasing her tail like around the world. Like I keep on finding these signs of the Gwen Stacy clone, but I'm always one step behind her. Oh my god, I am her. No. I hope I'm not being redundant, because I feel like we've said this on the podcast before, but I can't imagine when. But just in case to include it in here. Don's mentioned before that, like, this issue 47, this is, like, what everybody imagines every issue of the Romita era to be like.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. It was just the art and the social setting and everyone all together in one place having a good time. And there's so many iconic images in this particular issue.
People just stretch it out to like, the whole era.
Is that, like, this is not, like, the conventional Gwen Stacy design, though. This is not like, you know, when you think of Gwen Stacy, you don't think of like her looking like this, which is kind of funny.
That's true.
You're right. She doesn't have a headband.
She doesn't have a headband, but she doesn't have like the long. She doesn't have the straightened out hair. A lot of times when I see like the good old days, they look more like, they resemble more of their designs in the Conway run, where they dress more like the 70s style. Like I'll see pictures with them, and like Ned Leeds looks completely different. Gwen and Peter and they're all like dressed different, and for some reason Liz is there.
Right, Liz and Gwen never met, unless someone's going to retcon that they were bestest friends, like, you know, or something, but they never met.
Oh, yeah, and it turns out her dad wasn't actually, you know, Betty Brant's estranged father, that her dad was actually also a police commissioner, and that they played together all the times when they were best friends. But when she's really drunk, she's going to go out and get a tattoo of Norman Osborn.
Or the Molten Man.
The Molten. Yeah. That would be kind of funny.
Liz, I've done a bad thing. I got a tattoo of your like, you know, of your weirdo brother. But yeah, lots of people think that, you know, the whole soap opera and the whole like gang cutting it up happen more often than it does, and the whole Gwen versus Mary Jane thing, which really for the most part is going to stop after the Brainwasher story. Like, I'm not going to say it stops for good, because there's going to be like, you know, MJ's going to make a play for Peter during the drug storyline, and there's going to be one or two catty comments between Gwen and MJ around that period, but otherwise people think that like the MJ and Gwen rivalry was like this thing like up until Gwen died. I've seen interviews with Spider-Man writers who actually say, when you killed off Gwen Stacy, you ended the Betty Veronica dynamic, which defined the book. Defined the book?
No, not at all.
Ended the dynamic, which, like, wasn't even, like, which had already ended prior to that. Like, really?
And there's some large swaths of issues that where Mary Jane is completely absent.
I have a Wizard Spider-Man special from the 90s where, like, that's said, among other things. Like, that I actually count the continuity errors in that thing.
Around that time, Mary Jane and Gwen were, like, both worried about Harry. Like, they didn't have any time to be catty towards one another over Peter.
So in the ads this month, we have a page of more Marvel masterpieces now on sale with Thor 138, continuing the battle of Thor and Ulick for the life of Jamie Alexander. That's supposed to be funny. Because Jamie Alexander played Sif in the Thor movie, and that's who they're battling for. But never mind, it's okay.
I did not know that her actress name was Jamie Alexander.
It's too soon.
Good one, John.
Thanks, you son of a... Also... Marvel Collector's Item Classics 8 with reprints from the Fantastic Four, Iron Man from Tales of Suspense, Doctor Strange from Strange Tales, and of course the Incredible Hulk. And Tales of Suspense 88, where Cap is up against the Swordsman and the First Power Man with a menacing mystery villain who turns out to be the Red Skull. And Cap actually leaves the Avengers for a while to deal with the events in these stories and their aftermath. And you can hear the issue discussed on episode 33 of the Mighty Shield, a Captain America podcast in the year 2014.
Woo! Don't miss it.
The Bullpen Bulletins page brings us a batty barrage of bombastic bulletins bursting with a bipartisan banter, barefaced banality, and unabashed bull. The word is in. The Marvel Superheroes cartoon is a hit. Some stations are running it primetime every day. Some are running it 3 times a week. Some are running it in the after-school time slots. But the primetime ratings show it doing very well. Unless, of course, Stan is lying through his teeth.
Stan would never do a thing like that.
And personally, I think to say that some stations are running it only 3 days a week instead of 5, and others are shunting it to the after-school hours, does not necessarily mean that it's actually doing well. But that's just me. And then, after our customary ad for Marvel clothes and stationery, we have the Spider's Web. There is the usual gushing over the latest issues involving the Rhino and the Lizard. The letter I want to read, though, is from Gerard Adenizio of Medford, Massachusetts. He is currently a psychiatrist working out of New York Presbyterian Hospital in White Plains, New York. But when he was in his teen years, he wrote the following. Is it creepy that I find all these people in real life and what they're doing and where they are?
Absolutely.
It's starting to be.
You're crossing that line, John. Dear Stan and John, while thumbing through a Brand X comic, I came across something that infuriated me. Some orange-faced character belonging to a group of super boobs had just finished tying up a monster with his web after turning into a spider. He then said, in case a certain web-headed character thinks I'm stealing his thunder, I'd like to remind him that I was changing to all sorts of weird shapes long before he walked up his first wall. As you know, he was referring to your own Spidey. You fellas usually make your Brand X references in a good-natured, half-kidding way, and you've never actually pinpointed any competitive mag or character. But they are getting nasty. I think you should really let them have it. I've never written before. When I saw that statement, I just had to. Your comics are the greatest.
Is there any point in these letters where they actually come out and say DC?
Not at this point in history, no. But that was a DC comic. That was a reference to Adventure Comics number 350, which was November 1966 cover date, which means it had just come out whenever he wrote that letter, and they printed it here.
Superboy.
The tale that will stun the world, the Legionnaires kick out their buddies, Superboy and Supergirl. It was a story called The Outcast Superheroes and the Legion of Superheroes story. And Chameleon Boy is the orange-faced character belonging to the group of superboobs, who does turn into a spider to be the bad guy and does exactly what Dr. Adenizio said he did.
I thought these are all highbrow people, like Dr. Adenizio and like Professor this, Professor that.
But next ish, if you think you've seen the last of old Killjoy Kraven, forget it. Much to Spidey's regret, we're in far more maddening menace from our Herculean hunter. But that's only the part of the Titanic thrills in store for you. After an absence of many months, one of the greatest, most memorable of all supervillains returns to prove once again that, just when you think mighty Marvel has reached the absolute pinnacle of perfection, we can always come up with something even more sensational, namely, the Vicious Vulture. When you see the way Vulture comes alive via the inspired artwork of Ring-a-Ding Romita, you'll want to stand up and cheer. But
He almost looks like a different person.
But you'll be too weak from worrying about poor Petey's perilous predicament. Oh, and in case we forgot to mention, Spider-Man number 48 has more hard-hitting, fast-paced action panels than you could dare hope for. All in all, Web Spinners, our next issue is a bell ringer, and we ought to know we're the ones who did it. So hang loose, gang, in our book, Your Heroes All.
Also, Gwen gets a new hairdo.
Have you noticed how Stanley has a much better idea of what's coming down the pike now that Romita's on the book?
Yes.
Because they're on the same page. They're not warring over politics.
If you think we've come up with all the new villains that we can, why do you see the new villain that we'll show you next issue? Dr. Octopus.
Yep, that's it. He's shown us every villain we can.
And that wraps us up, I think. Tyler, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. You have been great.
I want to thank you a bunch for allowing me to be on the show. Getting to cover, such a classic issue, literally, and telling, pretty much how it's affected Deadpool and all that. It's just that, and the fact that you guys are one of the best podcasts that I listen to. You're on the top of my to listen list whenever it comes out.
Aw.
Stop, Shaw.
Go ahead and tell the listeners again where they can find you on the internets.
Okay, if you want to find me on the interwebs, I do of Mercs and Mutants, which is a show all about Deadpool, and we're getting into a more frequent state now where we're going to try to come out once a month, pretty much every month. So you should give that a listen. I'm also on Teenage Wasteland after the two useless bums of hosts realized they need somebody who could actually liven up the show.
Right.
Where I steal the spotlight and sing of Ultimate Spider-Man's glories and how awesome it is, and how much I look forward to the two reboots, almost 2 episodes in a row, pretty much at that point. And last but not least, I am also on From Yellow to Red, a Daredevil podcast with Johnny Freiberg. And that is turning out to be a really fun show. I really just agreed to it because, I thought it'd be fun covering some character from the beginning. But Daredevil is really fun to read. Between Matt having to run the law firm after Foggy gets injured, and then Foggy saying to Karen that the only thing that makes Matt a great lawyer is his cold and unemotional heart. He'll have this giant frown on his face because he didn't visit him in the hospital. I mean, it's something you don't quite get in any other book as far as I've really seen, besides maybe some Spider-Man, but it doesn't really quite take to, there are times when everybody in Daredevil supporting cast literally hate him and want, and wish Matt would just leave.
Right.
And we just finished up our last Yellow episode, recording it, so hopefully this and that should come out about the same time.
It didn't take you long to get from yellow to red.
Yeah, exactly. Our next episode is one I'm actually looking forward to. We're going to have a orange episode where we're going to cover 2 different versions of the origin retold recently. We're going to cover Daredevil Yellow and Daredevil Father. One that's, pretty good and one that's just plain horrible.
Alrighty. Well, thanks again, Tyler. I will be seeing you soon in the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah. I can't wait for that.
I'll see you on Earth 1.
Is that even going to have any relevance now because of the reboot?
JMS is still doing it. It was actually a test pilot for the reboot kind of thing. They wanted
Is
to
that
see
been
how-
announced? Really?
Yeah, he said so.
I think somebody's pulling stuff out of their arse, but
If you are listening and have thoughts on the episode or on the issues we are discussing, please write us an email at amazingspidermanclassics@gmail.com, and we will read your comments on the air and talk about you behind your back, but in front of you. You can also leave comments on the show's posting at spidermancrawlspace.com or at the show's own website of amazingspiderman.libsyn.com, where you can also download the episodes individually. You are welcome to subscribe to the show through iTunes, where you can also leave a review, which always makes us happy. And finally, I invite you to visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/Amazing Spider-Man Classics. No hyphen, no spaces, of course. Like that page to receive notices of new episodes, interact with the show hosts, and just generally have a good time. Next episode, Donovan, Josh, and I will be going it alone again. That's right here on Amazing Spider-Man Classics in association with SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Thank you for listening. Good night.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of night, at the scene of a crime, like a streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Wealth and fame, he's ignored. Action is his reward to him. Life is a great big hang-up. Wherever there's a hang-up, you'll find the Spider-Man.
Reading the Skype thing. Oh, yes. All right, hold on. My waitress is here. It's all right. Okay.
Every time he does this, it makes me hungry.
We need to all do this at Denny's next time.
We should.
I'll do it from separate Denny's.
Yes.
At San Diego, we should record
Okay.
something. And eat there.
Okay. Well, I probably will be ordering dessert later though, so don't catch.
I think when we're done, I'm going to go to IHOP and get a Belgian waffle.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I'm back to the world. Oh God. Okay. Hold on.
I'm your only friend, I'm not your only friend, but I'm your little glowing friend. But really, I'm not actually your friend, but I am.
Is that a one of your soundtrack song?
That's, They Might Be Giants. Birdhouse in Your Soul.
I still like Inagata Davida by Iron Butterfly. Best song written on acid ever. 17 minutes long, if you don't know.
Wow. That's a song.
I can't think of that song without thinking of that Simpsons gag.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the carnival. And I love how the organist just faints at the end.
I like how the preacher at the very end goes, this might be rock and roll.
Hey, rock and or roll.
Okay, you
Thank
promised Amanda. I wonder which one of those two girls Tyler's more interested in.
Apparently she heard the first time I sent in my pseudo voicemail that I emailed you guys a voice file of.
Oh yeah, with your sister.
Yeah. Apparently she found that hilarious, and I'm waiting for her to get to the email, because to tell you the truth, I forgot I sent that in, and when I heard it, I kind of laughed again. So I'm hoping she has a similar reaction.
I love that email. That was funny.
It was a good one.
I just heard Don. Oh my gosh. John, I know you're great for doing these little explanations of who people were. I was half expecting. I almost wanted to say something about, aren't you going to explain who Yogi Bear is?
Oh. Wow. I mean, I'm having fun, but this episode is going a lot longer than I thought it would.
Yeah, no. You might have split this up into 2 episodes.
I might.
I apologize for being so awesome.
I mean, what do you think, John? Do you think it's just compliant, or does it work better for the story?
Kind of lost track of what we were talking about.
The differentiations, but
Are you getting tired, John?
No, I was just kind of letting y'all talk, and
Okay.
I stopped paying a little bit of attention.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat, John, where you're afraid if you talk, you'll throw them off their groove.
Yeah, exactly.
Sex!